Hello everyone, my name's Kieran. Welcome back to the channel. Bit of a different edition of the Newport County pre-match podcast, whatever you want to call it. Normally we get a fan of the opposition team to join us, but for whatever reason or not, we couldn't find a Harrogate fan in time. To be fair, it's not too easy to go from a Tuesday to a Saturday and find a fan that can fit that kind of small time period. So joined by Jamie instead. How are we, man?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you. Good to finally be on one of these podcasts. We've been planning one this season, and it just didn't happen for some reason. But glad to be here.
I mean, you know what? I'm pretty sure we could still get something done later down the line. So I think we've both done a bit of research just on Harrogate. We won't go into them too much because, of course, we're not experts on the club, but we'll go more into I guess a season not preview, season overview so far of how we've done and how we could potentially see this game going. But I guess we can start off with a little chat about Harrogate from the research we've done. They're currently 19th in League Two, 4 wins, 1 draw, 6 losses in the 11 games they've played. In comparison, we're 14th with 4 wins, 2 draws, and 5 losses. So it's only a point difference, which shows how tight this League Two is as of right now. But the thing I found most interesting about them is that they're the joint lowest scoring team in the league for whatever reason. 9 goals in 11. They're drawing on last with Gillingham, but there's such a contrast in table position between those two teams, and that could show, I guess, a difference in defensive strengths.
Yeah, I mean, Simon Weaver, he started off the season very well. He's the longest serving manager in League Two, so that could possibly make a difference, his experience with his crew. Obviously, George Thompson being top scorer with only 2 goals this season, three of the goals that you mentioned earlier, the 9 out of the 9 have come from the penalty spot as well. So it's going to be a bit different. Obviously, just before Wimbledon in midweek, they came off a 3-game unbeaten streak against the likes of oh my God, who was it? I knew Bradford, and I think it was, I can't even remember, to be honest, but I know Salford were in there. I know Salford were definitely in there because they won 3-2 against them. Gillingham were in there. They drew with Gillingham as well.
Yeah, they've had some difficult games, like you mentioned, Bradford, Salford, Gillingham, just in the past 3 or 4. But they're coming off of a 1-0 loss at home to AFC Wimbledon. We're coming off a 2-1 win at home against Colchester, which ended a 5-game streak without
Yeah.
So it was a nice thing to get those 3 points. Hopefully we can build some momentum here in what is a really difficult October.
Yeah, it'll bring some nice motivation into the teams for tomorrow. Obviously, we've got our defensive issues now with Adam Lewis being out until the new year. Declan Troisdale obviously going off injured in the game against Colchester as well. So it's gonna be a difficult selection for Graham Coughlin tomorrow. But I do think it'll be McLaughlin right back, Severy and Delaney centre halves, and then Bondswell out at left back. Who knows where he could go though? He could bring a youth player in. Who knows?
I mean, I'd like to say the only real rotation we have that we're aware of in terms of the defence, you've got Scott Bennett, who can do a job at centre back if needed, but of course that brings then the issue of we not got depth in midfield. But we've also got the option of Lewis Payne, who did really well against from what I think would be a
I've seen I've seen Scott Bennett play defence before. He wasn't too bad, but when he eventually moved up to the midfield under Flynn, he was just incredible. He's a warrior now. So hoping he can stay in midfield and hopefully just bring in another defensive midfielder. Like you got your Bryn Morris, who's a defensive midfielder already, and then you're looking at maybe pushing McLaughlin maybe forward, bringing in Payne, and then going a back 5 with Bennett.
I don't know if I'd personally not say that a back 5 is our best way of going, mainly because of our lack of depth in the back 5, and we've seen under Robbery and under the first part of what we had with Coughlin that the 5 back doesn't tend to work fantastically if you don't have a defence that is very communicative and all this other stuff. And we've seen a lot of people talk about, whether it be on social media and whatever, that we've not really got people at the back that communicate. You've got Nick Townsend, who's very vocal with his defenders, but other than that, from what I've noticed, especially at Salford, we've not got players at the back who are really shouting at each other, telling each other where to go. And Townsend is a good option for that, because he can see all of our back four, but it's just a issue of playing a back five. You need all five defenders to be communicative for it to work, and I don't know if we've got that at the minute.
Yeah, obviously Nick does communicate with his defence well, but obviously we also know that Will Evans can do a job at left wing back. It was brought under, I believe it was Robury last year, not Coughlin, who invited the idea of left wing back to Evans, and he thought it was just out of this world that he was going to play left wing back rather than up front towards the middle.
He had such a weird first kind of season at the club. He was playing striker at the start, but we had the options of Zimba. Zanzala wasn't injured at the time. You had Collins if you wanted to use him up till a certain point, and then he put into the midfield. I don't think Robury really liked him there. Trialed him at left wing back, but of course he didn't stay long enough to probably analyse how Will Evans was playing there. But Coughlin came in the October of that season and really trialled him at left wing back, and it did work. And I suppose that is another option we've got if needs be. But if you're judging it off of this season, he's our top scorer, if I'm not mistaken, 8 goals now in the league. So do we want to sacrifice that firepower up front just to put him at left wing back?
I don't think so. I mean, if we do need defensive cover, obviously Bennett can jump back into defence if we need to. Obviously, then it will possibly have to mean recalling Sam Bowen from his loan at Wellston. We've seen how well he's doing out there. Obviously, he's found his level out there. So even if we do have to recall him and trial him in the first team, who knows what could happen?
I'd be very welcomed with the idea. I quite liked him from the little amounts that I saw him play last season, despite, of course, him having his issues on the field that we're aware of. But back to a bit of Harrogate, because of how low scoring they are, and because we mentioned Will Evans left wing back, I think if he is going to go back to left wing back, realistically, this game is one that he can sacrifice, because they've got a pretty weak front options. This could be because of Luke Armstrong's links away back in the summer window, and of course they didn't happen. We saw all the drama he had with MK Dons and more recently Wrexham. So I don't know if he's got the real desire to play for the club as much as he did last season, where we know how good he was. He was their top scorer, from what I'm aware of, by miles. If we're really going to trial Evans wing back, I don't think we will. But, we've got to have it as considerations of options because of the injuries and whatever else. Do we bring in Ollie Thomas as well? Because we've seen little glimpses of how well he can do.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Honestly, I forgot about that signing. But I was speaking to Jameson and Zanzala after the game against Bradford a couple of weeks back, and they said they were going to be about 4 weeks each. So hopefully Jameson does come back soon, and we don't have to really worry about centre back issues. Because obviously then you've got Severy fit, you've got then Delaney and Jameson fit then. And then obviously James Clark will be on his way back because he's out until late October with a hamstring. But despite conceding 12 centre-back, Rodney McDonald is their best player according to FotMob this season with a rating of 7.45. That's a very high score if you're a FotMob user. Hasn't scored, hasn't assisted, but has apparently defended really well.
Especially from a team that have conceded 12 and 11. So they're just about averaging conceding more than one a game. And admittedly, so are we. We've scored 20 and conceded 22. We're on average conceding 2 a game. And that could be due to rotations we've had to make, injuries we've had to make. individual or just team errors at the back because of maybe lack of communication and whatever else. But I saw you not forget to mention rather one name at the back. Of course, Declan Drysdale. I know that he came off around 26 minutes into the game against Colchester on Tuesday. Supposedly, according to Joe Dunn, he was brought off as precaution because we don't want him, of course, out with a injury, considering the lack of depth we've already got in the defence.
Yeah.
He's been getting a lot of criticism for his recent performances against Salford and Bradford, respectively. He did, in my opinion, fairly well up until when he had to get brought off on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I suppose he's a good talking point. Is he one of the centre-backs that you have confidence in that could do well? Because I personally think he's definitely got the potential to be a top centre-back in this league. It's just a bit of a struggle now coming back from injury.
As he's the third choice captain, obviously we've seen Delaney got sent off against, I can't remember who it was against, but it was the Barrow game. And obviously Bogle then got the captain armband. Bogle got subbed off. It was given to Drysdale. And that was obviously Drysdale's return game. So we knew then he was third choice captain with Coughlin. I would have personally given it to Bennett because I like Scott Bennett. I have a nice feel with it, that he can control the ball exceptionally well. Yes, I would pick Drysdale as one of my main two centre-backs, but it's who you pair him with. Like, are you going to go with pace with Jameson, or are you going to go with experience with James Clark or Ryan Delaney?
Yeah, I suppose as of right now, we've kind of, because of how thin our options are, we've got 3 centre-back options at the minute: Delaney, Drysdale, or Josh Seabury. But he can also play right back. He started on Tuesday as a right back up until when Drysdale came off. He was then moved to right centre back from what I saw, and that was when McLaughlin came on. So I suppose our main issues and the issue we've got going into this game is, especially because of how intense we were playing, the high intensity we played on Tuesday, the fatigue going to have set in. We don't have a big enough squad as we do anyway, not irregardless of the injuries we've got, irregardless of fitness. So I understand that Harrogate also had a game, and I can't say I watched it. I know they lost it 1-0, like we mentioned earlier. But what are your predictions going into this game? Do you think there'll be loads of rotations and that can potentially force us to not be as communicative or gel as well as we could want? Or do you think we'll kind of stick to our guns, stick to what we know works to a degree, and we'll take that and potentially get a result here?
I can see a few defensive changes. Like I said, I think we'll go with McLaughlin right back, Delaney, and oh my God, who's the other centre back at the moment? Seabury at centre back, and then Bondswell left back. That's obviously my prediction of what we'll go with in defence, and then Scott Bennett can cover back if he needs to, as well as Bryn Morris. So that's my midfield too, like the defensive duos. And then obviously since the game he had on Tuesday, James Waite at Cam, I think he was brilliant on Tuesday. I did watch the game on iFollow. He was absolutely magnificent. And it's just a part of who you play at the other Cam then, because obviously you've got Kiban Roy, who came on, played very well Tuesday, or do you go Aaron Wildig? And then obviously the front two will probably mainly be Bogle and Evans, but we've got to be careful tomorrow because I've done my research. They look to be a sort of competitive, ball-hungry team because they've averaged 2 yellows a game with 22 yellows in 11 league games this season, which hasn't been ideal for Simon Weaver's men.
Yeah, the last thing we want to play, and from what you've mentioned there, with the amount of fouls they give, which lead to yellows, we're gonna play an aggressive Harrogate team, and the hope is if we are to play players that were playing for 90 minutes on Tuesday, the hope is that these Harrogate players aren't gonna play with the same intensity that they maybe have in other games. Therefore, they don't give us away as many fouls, and we have a lack of risk of getting injured because, like we've mentioned, we've got a thin enough squad as it is. We cannot afford more.
Exactly. Yeah, like I've I've seen around their possession stats as well. They're on 17th in the league this season with an average of 47.5% possession. Now I did my research on Newport 21st, so that means that both teams aren't really a ball wanting team, if you get what I mean. But
Yeah.
possession is obviously going to be key tomorrow to whether we win or not.
Yeah, when we played Sutton and when we, of course, won 3-1 earlier on in the season, we were both teams that had low possession, which what we were able to kind of establish is that it was two teams that were pressing for the ball. They may not have the ball, but they'll fight to win it back. Hence, we create so many chances a game. And based off of those stats, you could potentially assume that Harrogate are going to play relatively similar to how us or how Sutton play. It just depends on the quality and what players can work well. I saw that Luke Armstrong came off the bench on a Tuesday, so he could be fit to start. He could be someone who causes us issues. And for that, I don't worry necessarily, because I think we've got a defensive record that kind of proves for itself, or not a record. We've not got a great record, but a defensive lineup that when you look at it on paper, it is solid. And we're playing against, like I mentioned really early on in this talk, we're playing against the worst attack in terms of goals scored in the league. So personally, I've said in terms of predictions, and I'll kind of move on to those now, I've said that we're going to win this 2-0. I can't see a real area and where we concede because of how weak this Harrogate side is and the atmosphere that is built at Rodney Parade. Quite literally, at times, it is the definition of a 12th man. And this isn't me saying it. This is, you've had players say, you had Seabury say it after the game on Tuesday. You've had Coughlin credit the people, the fans, and all this other stuff. So for that reason, I think we will go into this with a lot more momentum than Harrogate would have, especially because they picked up an unfortunate loss to Wimbledon. And I think we will win this one 2-0.
Well, I've gone for 3-1. I do think we'll concede within so I've gone 1-0 and then I've gone 2-0 and then it'll go 2-1 and then we'll get an 89th minute 3-1 winner, I reckon. I do reckon Bogle will get on the score sheet tomorrow. Again, obviously continuing his fighting form from Tuesday night. I do think James Waite's going to score tomorrow, which is a bit of a weird one. I do think he's going to score. And then who else do I think is going to score? I genuinely think it's going to be Kiban Risedale. So I do think we're going to win 3-1. It's going to be a tough opposition, obviously, with them having 17th in the league with possession. Obviously, they haven't really started well, but we'll see how it goes tomorrow. My prediction 3-1.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really thought of goal scorers. When you talk goal scorers, you put Will Evans for us top of that chart. So I'll say probably our front two of Will Evans and Bogle will get the goals. But I have confidence that we'll probably get 2 late goals. It'll be a cagey affair of two teams running at each other. And I personally have the faith that we'll hold more stamina, we'll potentially have less of the ball and we'll allow them to tire themselves out. And for that reason, I've said we'll get 2 late goals. I think we'll be able to hold them back for the most part. And that's mainly due to the low scoring numbers that they've got. I think that even if they do build chances, it's going to be a thing of will they be able to take them? Because so far they've not been created in. So my reasoning for saying a 2-0 win.
Yeah, it's a good prediction that because obviously they've conceded 11 this season already, so they're averaging a goal conceded a game. So obviously we look at that and I don't really like to say this, but our strikers light up really.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at statistics in terms of goals scored compared to goals against, you're probably looking at a 2-1 win either way, because you have Harrogate, who have a defence that on average concede a goal a game, but you have us that on average concede 2 a game, but we also on average near enough score 2 a game. So if you're looking at it that way, it's 2-1 either way. It just depends on what team shows up on the day. And admittedly, football predictions are one of the more interesting things to do, because you can look at all these stats and whatever and kind of try and judge a game, but you're not going to get really any accuracy until the players are on the field at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like a massive game of whether you think it's going to happen or not. It's just a game of who does what, to be honest. But yeah, I'm feeling confident going into tomorrow. Judging by their form, I'm feeling a bit better within confidence following Tuesday's result. I'm feeling confident to what Coughlin said earlier on in the press conference. I did watch it earlier on, so I am feeling very confident ahead of tomorrow.
Yeah, we've got a good reason to be optimistic ahead of tomorrow, but you don't want to look too far forward. But we've got a very busy October, especially with all the FL games. So it's going to be interesting to see. Not necessarily how we line up. We could probably argue on how we line up, and we could probably say this will be the lineup. This is what it is, and there's very little to change. Not only because of injuries, but because there are players in our team that are reliable. It kind of all depends on what happens in the game. Are we going to get any knocks? How tired a player's going to be? How intense are they going to play following the intensity we played on Tuesday? And how is that going to affect the rest of our month and going on into it? Are we going to have any loan recalls, like you mentioned, Sambo and Harrison Bright even? It's going to be an interesting, not only game, but it's going to be very interesting next month or so for the club.
Yeah, it'll be 100%. Obviously, like you said, we've got our busy October now. Obviously, we've got 2 EFL Trophy games coming up this month against Cheltenham and West Ham Academy. But I don't think he will extend the squad that much on those games. I reckon he'll just play like a few of the youth academy boys, and just some of the first team players that aren't really getting a chance, like Keeban Ryle, Nathan Wood, for example. I think them two will be key to our sort of EFL Trophy experience this season. Hopefully we can get out of the group, because obviously we've got Bristol Rovers in there as well. So that's next month as well. So that's going to be a bit more of a difficult one with 2 League One clubs and the West Ham youth in there.
Yeah, it all depends on where our priorities are in terms of selection. But I think what most managers agree on, not only in League Two, but League One, anyone that really plays the competition that isn't the reserve Premier League academies, they'll probably prioritise the league more. And especially in our case, where even if you want to play youth players, even if you want to play first teamers that aren't getting much game time because of how small our squad is, there's not many players that aren't getting game time. You've got, like you mentioned, Nathan Wood, you've got Keeban Rye, you've got potentially Lewis Payne, and you've got Johnny Maxted and Ollie Thomas in terms of first teamers that are regularly playing in the lineups. Yeah, we've got a very thin squad, and we kind of got to take our selections game by game, hope that we don't pick up any injuries, because we've already got an extensive list, and hopefully it can be not only a successful game Saturday, but a successful next month, and then we'll go on from there. So is there anything else you want to add just on the thing of Newport and our next month, or anything you want to add on the Harrogate game?
No, not really, mate. I mean, we're out of the Carabao Cup now, so that's one less competition to focus on. Obviously, we've got our FA Cup Round 1 coming up in the first weekend of November, so that's always something to look forward to. We love a cup run, so we'll be up for it. We'll definitely be up for it. Obviously, Round 3 is when the big teams come in, like your Liverpool's, your Chelsea, stuff like that. So it's generally going to be down to squad depth and who we can fit in where.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting because of, like we've mentioned, the injuries, and fitness concerns, and just the amount of games doesn't really fit the way we play. We like to play pressing football, and that's very tiring. And if you're playing 2 games a week, it's really difficult. But yeah, unless you have anything else you want to add, I think we're cool to end it up, and I'm sure we'll get together again and kind of just talk about more things Newport.
Happy to help you out anytime, mate.
Yeah, so I think that's all we've kind of got in terms of talking about this game, because of course unfortunately, we're not experts on Harrogate. It would have been nice to have got a fan in, but timing and all this other stuff, when you've got a game Tuesday to Saturday, you've not got long of a window to get a podcast recorded, get it edited. So it's completely understandable. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. As always, comment your thoughts not only on the game, but on the things we've discussed here, whether it be the squad depth, the month we've got, or further into the future. I understand that Cochran himself doesn't like to think further than the next game, but us being fans, we can kind of talk about anything and everything into the future. So it's really it's great to be not only a Newport fan, but just an EFL fan, because of how many more fixtures there are, for better or for worse. So make sure you support the channel whatever way you see fit. Jim, is there any links you'd like me to chuck in the description as a thank you for your time?
No, probably not, mate. My YouTube channel's gone pretty quiet since I think it was the Wimbledon game. I don't really feel the need to upload anymore. But no, I'm fine, mate.
Yeah, it's fine, mate. But yeah, thank you for your time regardless. Of course, this will be up on the day we're recording it, probably towards the evening now. So yeah, support the channel whatever way you see fit using the links in the description. I hope you will enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening. Hopefully the next time I come on here, we're talking about a successful Saturday and another 3 points that hopefully can build us momentum into the rest of October and everything else in between. So yeah, take care.